Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Lunchtime. It's not like anyone wants to be outside because it's so hot. So what better place to be than in front of your computer for lunch? Welcome to Pathways to Leadership through the AIA. Next to lead in the DMV, we have three panelists who are going to address this topic today. I think it's going to be really engaging, and we're wide open for discussion. So we want to really welcome involvement. So anything that you want to see addressed or want to talk about, let's add it to the chat or raise your hand on the Zoomy hand, and we can get into it there. So I'm Deborah Bilo. I'm just moderating this conversation, and I'm going to introduce each of our panelists one by one, Anna, Melissa, and Sakshi. Okay, so this is an AIA accredited course. It's one learning unit, right, Sue? We get one learning unit out of this. And if you need to get a certificate, you can reach out to Sue or Pam and they'll send you one. But it will be, AIA will have it listed. Okay, so what are we here for? We are here to talk about leadership. There are as many different routes to leadership as there are definitions, and organizational involvement is a way young people can define their ability to lead early in their careers. Finding the right leadership fit takes time for any architect or design professional, or person really in general. Aspirations shift, passions grow, information can be hard to find, and sometimes it's hard to make the right choice or even know what all the options are. So this is meant to be a candid discussion amongst the three panelists, but also amongst all of us. Facilitated by me. I'll be introducing a number of questions to kind of guide the conversation. We are here to shed light on three different career paths and to see if it's somehow, if you can kind of navigate your own career path through that. We're looking at people from the DMV area, but each one of them coming, one from DC, one from Nova, one from Potomac Valley, but all sort of in this area, and looking at how their experiences and discoveries relate to, are relevant to, I would say, not just emerging professionals, but also longtime professionals. Okay, learning objectives, I'll just go through it quickly. We're here to identify active ways to develop leadership skills, define their benefits, understand how to create and implement a leadership vision, learn how to build a network of like-minded people, lead a community, and facilitate change. Identify successful and alternative strategies for professional development, understand the leadership resources available through the AIA, identify active ways to get involved with AIA, its local chapters, and its benefits. Okay, so I'm going to start by introducing Anna. Anna Barbara, do you want to raise your hand and show yourself for everyone to see?
Hello.
I'm just going to hand it over to Anna and let her tell us a bit about her journey so far. Take it away.
Thanks, Deborah. And thanks everybody for joining. I just want to give a shout out to all the AI Nova people who have joined today, and thank you for your support. And thank you to PowerPoint for helping me make this graphic in the last minutes. So PowerPoint is, not your grandmother's PowerPoint anymore. So there's kind of three lines here, and sometimes they stop, but it's really more so like I can layer on different elements of my path so far. And I would say, three elements of it has been my AIA journey, my educational journey, and then my professional journey. So I was a WAC student and with Virginia Tech in Old Town, and I actually had the great opportunity to work for the AIA Nova chapter in 2003, and that kind of was my gateway drug into the AIA and to all things AIA Nova. I started out while I was in grad school working on the construction steering committee, working with graphics and doing things like that. And then I kind of slowly eased into more AIA activities, being part of the Young Architects Forum, becoming their chair, then becoming the Women in Architecture's co-chair, which is where I currently am. And in that time frame, I've also participated in some different leadership seminars provided by the local jurisdictions. In 2011, I participated in the Emerging Leaders in Architecture, which was part of Virginia. In 2016, I participated in the Christopher Kelly Leadership Development Program. And right now I'm actively involved in the national program for AIA Next to Lead, which is really introducing women of diverse backgrounds and colors to AIA leadership and really changing literally the color of the room and dynamics. So it's for me, I'm a leadership junkie. I love to learn about myself and others by reading and participating in different things, learning about people. And I think the biggest takeaway from all of these different leadership seminars has been the people that I've met and the relationships that I've established. And even with all of the different AIA chapter events and chair positions that I've had, I've created great working relationships, trusting relationships with folks that I can now call and depend on as well. So for me, it's been a really great opportunity to meet so many different people in the area. Melissa is somebody that I met a long time ago with Women in Architecture, and I'm really excited to get to know Sashki more. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm excited about the next chapter as well. So the lines keep going.
You want to talk a little bit about this one too?
Sure. Some people, so these are some different action shots, I guess I should say. Currently, the larger picture on the left is my current team. We're working on a new construction, and we just had our topping out party in that photo. So we're enjoying the rooftop of our new project. The one on the upper right is myself and my identical twin. We were at the American Veterans Disabled for Life Memorial opening event, and that was a project that I worked on when I was at Shalom Baranis, and it was probably one of the best projects and one of my career highlights, working on this memorial. President Obama at the time came and was the guest of honor. So it's a very important aspect because my father was a disabled veteran, and so it was really great for me to work on something like this that had a personal meaning as well. The next photo below is when the Christopher Kelly program, I think it's used a lot on the AIA DC website too, because a lot of people have said, hey, that's you. And I think what was so great about that is just getting the opportunity to meet all these great people around the DMV that I'm still in contact with today. So I would encourage, and if you have any questions about that program, happy to share that event. The photo on the bottom was another large project that I worked on with Kathy Prigmore. She was the PM and I was the PA. It was a really great opportunity. It was the first time I had a woman PM. So it was really exciting to sit in that kind of place with her. And then just recently over on the bottom left is the AIA Architecture Convention in Chicago, where I got to meet a lot of the ladies from the Next to Lead program. It had been virtual so far, so it was a really great opportunity to meet them and get to know each other better.
That's awesome. Thank you. I just really quickly want to mention that I think it'd be great if we could dig into the Next to Lead just a little bit so people could learn about it if they don't know. But I wanted to just ask you really briefly, you know, we're here, I think, to sort of focus on leadership through AIA, but you in particular have experience with leadership also outside of AIA, and how maybe those kind of things could sort of coalesce with each other. Could you just briefly sort of speak to some of your experiences with leadership in capacities outside of AIA that are still architecturally related?
Sure. You know, right now in my firm, I am a senior project manager. I work on large multifamily new development projects, and I lead, you know, teams between 2 people and up to 10. So to me, it's really important as far as learning about myself and learning how to be a leader is also how to understand each person on my team. In the last few years, I've kind of identified like my values, as it, distilled into 2 words, and they are generosity and resourcefulness. So I like to consider myself as somebody who will listen and give their time and try to come to solutions for people. I put my team first because I know if they're supported, then I know I can get the rest of my work done after knowing that they're all good to go. This has kind of come about, I guess when I was at Shalom Baranis for 10 years, I had, different positions there where I was staff, and then I was, project architect, and then became a PMPA. So, you learn a lot from the people that are around you. You learn what's good, and you also learn what's bad, and you try to like be a sponge and like just absorb all of that and really kind of understand what works for you and how to communicate. It's really important to know that everybody communicates differently. And now in this virtual world, we have Teams on top of text messages and everything else, Slack. So really being able to understand each person and how to communicate with them most effectively, and then as a team as well, has been really crucial for me.
That's really great team leadership advice, I think. Okay, let's, in the interest of time, let's move on. And Melissa Daniels here to speak with us also. Could you introduce yourself and give us some of your words of wisdom?
Hi, my name is Melissa R. Daniel. I represent AIA Potomac Valley. So I'm just going to start on my AIA journey. So many wonderful years. My participation started actually with AIA DC Emerging Architects Committee. And from there, I grew to focus on women in architecture. I started the Women Architecture series back in like 2012, where I then joined AIA Nova's Women Architecture Committee. The reason why I did that was it was important for me to find a group of women in architecture, not only to network, but also learn how to navigate in this male-dominated profession. I had a bunch of questions and I wanted them to be answered by women. Questions like, can architects save the world? And, the business of architecture, and about my career in general. And I didn't want a male's perspective. I wanted a female's perspective. And in creating the Women Architecture series, I wanted a panel of women to talk about these issues. So the title Women in Architecture series, I wanted to use the word women because that's the audience that I wanted to attract. I wanted to create a space where we are the majority in the room. Back then, like 2013, some of us were the only ones at the table. And sad to say, there's still scenarios that's happening present day. I wanted to be able to network and talk about shared experiences and to provide support so that we can all stay in this profession. Driving attention to the image, the lower right corner, just so you may not be able to see, it says Professor Frazier joins panel celebrating women. So this was about the second season, I say, of the Women Architecture series. And it took place majority of the time at Smith Group in their DC office. The program ran about 4 or 5 seasons under my leadership. And then I stepped away from that, and the Women in Architecture at AIA Nova took it over. And then I believe it morphed into other programs as well. In 2015, AIA Nova Women Architecture Group, we all decided to apply to host the 2017 AIA Women's Leadership Summit. So our strategy in this is to do a joint venture with our sister organizations, and we called it Mid-Atlantic. So the list included AIA DC, AIA Potomac Valley, AIA Women in Architecture Baltimore, AIA Chesapeake Bay, AIA Women in Design Richmond, Women in Design Hamptons Roads, Women in Design Central Virginia, and Women in Design, Women in Architecture in Philadelphia, and AIA Delaware. So we covered a lot of states, a lot of territory, so that we could all collaborate. And it combined like over 1,700 women architects, spanning technically 2 regions, because you had the Mid-Atlantic region and the region of the Virginias. During those 2 years, from the start of 2015 to 2017, I served as co-chair along with 4 other women. We created programming, we searched for venues, we organized with all organizations, architecture firms, volunteers. It was a whirlwind experience. And I just want to emphasize that we collaborated with other AIA entities. Same slide on your left. This is the opening reception of the AIA's Women's Leadership Summit. Close to 300 women attended, and we maxed capacity for the entire summit. So the image in the middle, that's AIA, that's a meeting at AIA Northern Virginia chapter. Those ladies are just, I love them all. Next slide. By participating in AIA, and this is for everybody, I was able to win various AIA awards. So that included in 2012 AIA DC Emerging Architect Awards, in 2017 AIA Nova Service to the Chapter Award, 2018 AIA Potomac Valley Emerging Leaders Award, 2018 AIA Associate Award, and then this year, the 2022 Whitney M. Young Award. So if I was to ever give advice, I'm giving advice. It's only 3. One is don't just participate in AIA, create programming. Create programming that answers a question you've been dying to ask. Or if you notice something missing, gather experts and host a panel discussion. This whole panel here was created by Sakshi, and she had a conversation with Sue, and we're here now. Number 2, collaborate. You're not an island. A lot of with the Leadership Summit and with writing the Vortex for the Whitney M. Young Award, I couldn't do it without amazing women in architecture. Besides, it builds a network. Finally, number 3, get out of AIA and participate in other organizations. Deborah mentioned that the conversation 2 seconds ago with Anna. So organizations like NOMA or ULI, or even like Designers Protest, I was able to obtain outside awards. So going to the image, starting from the bottom right, I applied for the Building Design and Construction 40 Under 40, and I got it. And they put me on a cover. I was not expecting that. And then the Daily Record, that's a Maryland publication. And again, they had a 40 Under 40. I applied and I got it. The top portion of the slides are from AIA. That was starting from your left. That was award ceremony for the 2018 Associates Award I received. The one in the middle was an awards banquet from AIA Nova, and then of course the 2022 Whitney M. Young photograph. And then lastly, where you get recognized or even networking. I had an opportunity maybe 2014, maybe 2015, at the AIA convention. I participated in Architect Live, and we talked about can design change the world? So for better or for worse, how did you feel about AIA? The reason why I'm here is because of the amazing committee members. I love AIA Potomac Valley. To me, it's like a hometown feel. Now, presently, I've moved away from women and focusing now on housing. So currently I am vice chair of AIA Housing Community Development Knowledge Community. So, I mean, it's a constant thing, constant cycle. You're not stuck with one thing. You grow as a person, you see other interests, and AIA overall gives you the opportunity to explore. So that's all I have.
Oh my gosh, that is so awesome. Thank you, Melissa. So I actually have a few questions for you, but I'll just keep it brief. So would you say your focus is kind of moving more toward national? You mentioned that you love AIA Potomac Valley and it loves you, but would you say that your focus is moving more toward national in general in terms of, I guess, leadership and opportunities?
I've served both at the same time. I don't know if that's wise or not. I was also back in the day served as the Diversity and Inclusion Council, and I was also doing the Women in Architecture series. So you can serve both. Like I said, I wouldn't advise it if unless you have time.
Right.
Like if you have plenty of time to do that and work and take care of yourself and others, then go for it. But I've always pretty much, I told myself I'm doing too much. So I backed off of some things and focus on others.
Yeah. Well, I feel like all of you could really talk about this, or all three of you could, but you in particular could really talk to the idea of execution. And you did talk about this a bit, but just how incredibly important it is to take that step and actually, if you want to do something, take the step and actually do it. I think we'll dive into that a little bit more. I want to give Sakshi a turn to talk, and then we'll kind of come back to some of these ideas. Okay, thanks, Melissa. Sakshi Turway, let's give her a chance to give us her introduction and let us learn about her. Go, take it away.
Thank you, Deborah, and thank you for having me here. So hi, I'm Sakshi Turway, a designer at Winsec & Associates, and this on the screen is my architecture journey so far. I'm originally from New Delhi, India. I completed my 5-year-long undergrad degree there, got licensed, and then moved to the United States for my master's. So a lot of which you can see in the first half of this graphic. And then cut to 2017 when I finished my master's, graduated, and moved to DC. I became an AIA member soon after I moved here. It was just easy. I had amazing coworkers who were actively involved with the AIADC and were constantly talking about the opportunities that they were stumbling upon by being a part. And then the AIADC Urban Design Committee at that time was having their the annual open house series going on, which at that time felt like a great way to network and know the industry peers. And most of all, the process was low commitment at that time, fresh graduate, where you're constantly trying to figure out how to manage your cash inflow. With AIA, it was easy because the first 18 months after your graduation is free. So I was okay, let me try this out for 18 months. And if it doesn't work out, I could just cancel my membership and I don't lose much. So and that was me 5 years ago, and everything that I've done since in the education and the volunteering category has been directly or indirectly because of my involvement with AIA and AIADC. So I started by joining the committees, the urban design committee, to be specific, right after those open house series. I really liked them. I really liked the people. I was like, let's go check this out. And it opened so many avenues for me, not just with AIA, but outside as well. Like many organizations that are tied up with AIA in one form or the other. It also gave me a sense of belonging in the city that was unknown to me. You know, the people were the nicest. Anytime I had any questions, I felt lost, I felt comfortable to talk to people around me, because at any given point, like, you know, there would be someone who's like been there, done that, and could give me great advice on what I was dealing with. So from being a member of these committees to becoming the Urban Design Committee Chair or Committee Advisor for EAC, which is the Emerging Architects Committee, it's been a constant journey of learning and evolving. There's something for everyone. And I'm really, like, I personally am really into writing and was looking for ways to cultivate that. I started by being an editor on the Urban Design Committee's annual journal, which is called Avenues, to becoming a reporter for the World Architecture Community, to writing a chapter and a blog for Immigrants Architects Coalition and AIA Potomac Valley, to becoming the managing editor for Avenues Journal, and now becoming an author in an upcoming book by the Immigrant Architects Coalition. Like, each opportunity led to another, each door opened a new one. So yeah, it's been a constant journey of discovery. I'm also big on sustainability and resiliency. And it was through the Urban Design Committee that I learned that they were looking for volunteers on Mayor Bowser's team for resiliency DC. And that was like during the initial phase where there was a lot of like research and development involved, and they needed a lot of architects and planners on board. And it was the perfect combination of the two things that I was passionate about. And I was like, okay, I'll take that opportunity. And the rest from there was history, I guess. Honestly, like, the best thing about the whole journey are the people, like I've mentioned. I think Anna, Melissa, everyone's mentioned that the people, it's the best part. I found like great peers, great mentors, great advocates throughout the process. With programs like Christopher Kelly, which I'm in this year. I know Anna has already mentioned about that. And like the AIA DC mentorship with the FAIAs, where you get paired with an FAIA. So, you know, getting that perspective on a journey that you are about to embark upon, like someone who's been there, done that, giving their perspective on it. I've also had the opportunity to build up a great network of advisors that I can blindly rely on and go to for any or all advice. Like, these prestigious programs have been great for my career development and my personal growth. It has helped me transition from being a emerging professional, someone who's like new in the industry, trying to figure their way out, to going on a more well-informed leadership role. Like, it has really made that transition easy for me. And it has helped me focus on the bigger picture as well, not just, you know, what I'm doing on my day-to-day basis, but how the environment, the industry is impacting that. I think the one thing that I was big on before joining AIA was mentorship, and I was mentoring people who were coming from different countries, like going through the process as immigrants, trying to figure out their journey. And I think with my involvement with AIA or AIA DC in particular, that even grew. It helped me channelize that better and be able to help others out more in the process as well. Through the organization Architecture's Free Foundation, I started mentoring more. So since it was never, it wasn't like a job for me, I guess. So it was like, you know, when people would approach me, they would be like, hey, like, I'm looking for help in this particular thing that I'm doing, and I see you've been there, and can you help me out? And I would help and mentor in that process. But then architecture is free helped me find those people, and AIADC helped me find architecture is free. So I could help people out more in that process. And I guess, yeah, like it's been 5 years since I've started. So there's a lot for me to learn and grow in, but this has been my journey so far. And if we go to the next slide. So yeah, these are some of the involvement and organizations that I've spoken to about. The one on the top right is the Urban Design Committee. And then after, I think, being a member for 2 years, I took on the role of the chair for the next 2 years, and Scott Archer was the past chair. So I took on that role from him, and he's been a great mentor through that entire journey. The Christopher Kelly team on the top, like these are the scholars that I'm currently with in that program, and they're such amazing peers. I feel like I learn from each one of them on a daily basis. Another image up there is from the Beyond the Built environment, which is an opportunity I also learned through the Wield Committee at AIADC. Like with each of these involvements, I also learned how to take it back to my day-to-day job and grow from it. And this was one of those opportunities where I got to feature a project that is really close to me that I've been working on for a long time, and own that project. Even though I was a design team member, I grew with this project. Like I started as an architectural designer. By the time the project was ready, I was like a lead designer on the project. But to even get the sense of ownership and to be out there talking about this and saying that this is my project, which it was a great feeling. So yeah, that's just been my journey in a nutshell so far.
That is quite a journey. And I think what's particularly, all of it is very interesting, but particularly highlights in my mind is that you had the added challenge of having to navigate this whole new system from being an architect in India and knowing how to do that, to coming to the United States and learning what it means to be an architect here. And how do you even begin to network? How do you begin to learn? And if you want to thrive and grow and kind of develop yourself in that capacity, how did you find the AIA? Was it easy to discover that was the method of networking, or how was that path for you?
So I mean, I guess when I moved to DC, I realized that I did need that. And that was like in that whole process of after graduation, trying to find a job. And like it's got so many, like multiple layers involved with it in terms of like rules, regulations, policies. When I moved to DC, I guess I was open to just finding different ways. And it wasn't like I went to AIA and that was it. Like I did try some of the other organizations as well. This was the one where I think I found my sense of belonging. And I think that is where, that is, for me, was the most important part, where I felt comfortable voicing out my concerns, asking questions without worrying about, do I sound stupid asking those questions? Or even being like, am I the weird one for, just thinking about all these things that no one's talking about. And I think that sense of belonging is what stuck with me, which is why I kept on getting more and more involved with AIA, because I got the opportunity to ask all those questions like Melissa mentioned. I think it was just easy.
Okay. That's terrific. That I'm actually going to stop sharing so we can make this be a little more informal and conversational. And anyone that's involved in this seminar with us, we welcome your questions, and you're welcome to ask them yourself, or you can put it in the chat and get engaged in kind of a dialogue. But I think having this introduction of these three kind of very different perspectives on how to get involved in various forms of leadership, but also, what I read into this is it's not just about leadership, it's about developing your own personal, I guess, agenda within the architectural world, or using that world as a way to develop your own agenda. I think I want to just start by asking the question of like, why is leadership important? Why is that what you think is what is it about leadership? Some people would be fearful of becoming a leader and say, well, I'm a shy person, I can't do that. But tell me, what are your thoughts about leadership in general? And each of you guys could answer that if you don't mind.
I'll start. It's kind of, that movie, Austin Powers, and they have like Dr. Evil. Is that his name? Dr. Evil? I believe his name.
I feel like that's right.
And or like any other villain you can think of with like the evil laugh. I view leadership as power and control. Like it's like empowering for yourself, right? Because you command a room, or you're speaking out your ideas, and people are listening to you, and you may have some opposition, but overall it's power. Like you're in control, and in a sense you're in control of your own, I don't want to say destiny, but your own career, your own, it's really a source of empowerment to be a leader. And when the crowd, just don't let the crowd turn on you. That's the only thing. And the only way the crowd will turn on you is if you're being negative in any way, which none of us have that in our bodies. But that's what leadership means to me.
Okay, that's an important one too. What about you, both of Anna and Sakshi?
I'll go next after listening to Dr. Evil over there. I'm an introvert. I do not necessarily like talking about myself. I don't like being the center of attention, but if I see a need for something, if I see a hole somewhere, I'm gonna fill it in. I'm gonna do what it takes to like make things more efficient for other people, make things better for other people. I do feel like I've had a really fortunate education experience and professional career so far. So for me, a lot of the leadership that I do is about giving back and making sure that the next generation has a positive female role model that they can see as a leader. I had great men as role models, and as people who mentored me and brought me along the path. But I think it's a great time now to be the change, and really have women of color as leaders in firms, and taking people on construction tours, or I also teach with the AREs. So I think it's really important to lead by doing, and also lead by empathy and listening to your people around you and understanding what the needs are. If you got up today and put clothes on, you're a leader. You've made decisions that have, projected you to be where you are now. So on top of just, I also do like to be, in control, Melissa. I like to be the boss, but it's really important for me to like give structure to everybody else that I'm leading, and, having that common purpose, having that sense of belonging that Sakshi, you said was so important to you. It's one of those really critical things about being a leader is cultivating those kind of environments where people do feel that way and do feel empowered. So
thank you for that nuanced description, I think. And we're all, we all do have to put clothes on every day, right? So we are all in that position. But to think of leaders not just in this like kind of grandiose way, but as like, well, you have to lead, right? You have to lead, you have to do that in order to move your day forward. So do you want to progress positively and impactfully or not? And that's, I think, part of this discussion. Sakshi, do you want to add to that?
I think both Melissa and Anna put that beautifully. I think I'm a lot like Anna that ways where I don't like to put myself in the center, like as the center of attention. But at the same time, I guess I realized that leadership is something you can't like get away from in our profession. Like the moment you get to the next step of being like, the emerging architect, I mean, like, an architectural designer and at an entry level position, you're leading a small team or bigger team, you're like constantly leading and you lead by example. And sometimes I've seen that go well, but then there are other times when I've seen that go horribly wrong. And I think my path of self-discovery of my leadership style was from some of those experiences that didn't go well. As like, I do not want to be someone like that. And I guess because I realized that for me, leadership is about helping your team reach their full potential. And which is why it was important, or it seems important to me to be able to help them cultivate. It's not just about me, myself, and I, but it's also about what I can do for them. And I think that's where that whole leadership style emerged. And it's still evolving. I think for me right now, it is about teaching and connecting, because I guess I'm the kind of leader who, what I learn, I am happy to teach that, and I am happy to share that information. And then also things that I don't know much about, over time, like I said, about networking and building that group of people that I trust, I know someone else who would be able to guide on that topic better, and then I help people connect there. So
Well, thank you for that. It makes me think about how we're focusing kind of on leadership through the AIA, and how the AIA as an organization and as a kind of template has allowed each of you, and I would venture to say many of us here, to sort of develop ourselves as architects outside of our particular office structure. But I think something then that doesn't get these two things almost feel like they're formed in parallel. And I'd be interested to hear from each of you on your thoughts about how do you navigate, the things that you're talking about take time and effort and resources to become these things, to do these things, to get fundraising, as Kathy mentioned. All of these things they take time, first and foremost. And that would be sometimes time away from the office. How do your offices, as freely as you're willing or able to speak about this, how do your offices support this kind of effort? And do you think that there are ways that we might improve on that, or do you think we're moving in the right direction?
I could start off again. All the offices, not like it's been a lot, but the offices that I've currently and previously employed, they all have allowed me to do anything that I want. And I there's a giant caveat with that, because it's none of them gave me a guidelines, any official office guidelines, just to say that, or even budget. Like, okay, Melissa, you have 2 hours a month to do any AI. No, I never got that. They always told me that they supported me, and I've yet to hear a firm that says we do not support our staff with any AIA activities. I've never heard that. And if someone on the chat, if they have that experience, please say something. AIA should say something, but they can't, because they may not have the funds. Like, I don't know you, Deborah, you're sole proprietor. Are you paying for this for your
My employees here?
Is she paying for you? Is this billable hours?
I am paying for this. I am paying you. You do not have to take separate hours for this, Sarah, to be here. We didn't work that out ahead of time. Sorry. Right. So like, no, but fair enough. I would say like as a smaller firm, it's just a bit more of a dialogue for us than it would be, I think, in a larger firm that has kind of a set culture that says, we're only interested in the bottom line. We're interested in billable hours. If you're reducing billable hours, then that's hurting us. But I think that's missing the biggest picture. And Kathy's mentioning that too, that there may even still be firms that don't support professional service. And I think that must be, and I don't know, Kathy, if you want to talk about that some more, but I think that that's largely related to the fact that it's not billable hours.
Take yourself off mute, Kathy, and say something. If you can, I don't know if you're still driving or not. Nope. Okay.
Yeah, if she,
mic isn't working. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's too bad. You can just text us some more if it's safe. Sakshi, I think you might be ready to say something. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what Melissa said is kind of where I'm at right now as well. I don't know how other firms deal with it because I've only been with this one firm for this entire duration of my AIA journey. But I think we're still a relatively small firm, like we're 20 to 25 employee firm. And I think they are encouraging of it, as in the sense they understand that I really want to do this and they support me. But yes, like it is not part of my billable hours or even like overhead. It comes from my personal time. But then there are other things like, you know, participating in Christopher Kelly or applying for the mentorship with FAIA program, or even applying for Beyond the Build. Like, you know, all of them, it comes with a price. There's an application fee. There are letter of recommendations. And my company has always been on the forefront for that, because there's certain aspects of it that they do understand. They can see the direct connection that it has with what I do in a day-to-day basis and how it's helping me in my work. And that's for those things, or even like there have been other employees before me who've gone through that journey, who've been in Christopher Kelly, and you know, they have seen the impact that program had on them and how it directly helped the company. So it's not always about me having to go and advocate for every single thing and be like, hey, I really want to do this and I would appreciate your support. The support is always there. Sometimes it is more in certain programs where they know what the outcome's going to be like. In others, they're like, we support you, but we can't guide you. But I think they are understanding in the sense of I have the flexibility of time. Like, I guess I, on my own, try to keep all of my calls and engagements restricted to the lunch hours or like after 5:30. And since most of my involvement has been through committees and it happens during the weekdays, it's generally in the after office hours. But I don't think I've ever had like a strong pushback from like, we do not approve of this. They're very happy when I come back. Like when I came back, I was like, I won the Emerging Architects Award for AIDC this year. They were very happy and they were celebrating. Right. They did write my letter of nomination when I reached out to them saying, this is what I want to do. So they are supportive in those manners for sure.
We're actually amazingly running low on time. So I'm going to wrap this portion up just a little bit and bring mention to Kathy's comment that she says that the firm that supported me at the height of my Uncarbon AIA involvement, she used comp time and negotiated that they pay for a portion of the travel and event registration costs. So we're still in a place within our firms, I think, that we probably do have to do some negotiation, but not that negotiation is out of the question or that it's going to be difficult for us to further ourselves in our careers. There's an understanding there. I want to quickly, before we have to kind of wrap things up, address a comment about imposter syndrome. And if anyone has a specific reaction that they want to bring up here, but I think it's a really fair thing where you start out thinking, well, you know, who am I in this whole scenario? And then once you begin to build yourself into these roles and you think all the people around you have been doing this forever, who am I to be doing it? Tell us how, have you experienced that particular feeling and how do you navigate it?
I can go on this one first because like Melissa mentioned that I was helping plan this event. And we were having the conversation where we were talking about speakers, and I was like, okay, yeah, Anna, Melissa, and like someone from AIA DC. And Mel was like, why don't you do it? I was like, like, I mean, I don't think I have anything to like add to this conversation. There's nothing that, I mean, I'm still learning, I'm still growing. And that is like a big example of the imposter syndrome. But even till like 5 minutes before today talking, I was like, do I belong here? Should I be here talking about this? And that is something that constantly keeps happening. But I guess for me, it's always having like a very strong group of advisors, supporters, like cheerleaders. Like Mel is one of the strongest ones in that, and they're like, you can do it, and we believe in you, and you got this. And I think that is what kind of like pushes me through that feeling.
Yeah. Anna, do you have any particular insights?
So I was adopted, and so I have a twin sister who is Asian, but I grew up around white people. I went to a historically Black college. I've always been like different and other, and I don't ever think that I ever thought of myself as, and this kind of is my own personal thing. I've never really felt like an outsider because I was always, you know, used to being around other people and that weren't like me. So, and I had a twin, so that was great. But then like, I just, you know, I guess I thought I was white when I was in school, and, you know, I just kind of assimilated to wherever I was. And so I really haven't felt imposter syndrome, like I shouldn't be there, but I have felt that I look young for what I am, you know, my age, because, you know, Asians just don't age. And so I've always felt, you know, sometimes a little insecure about, you know, showing up, being in charge, not so much lately now. But so it was about, for me, like dressing professionally, making sure that I look like I belong there and things like that. And then kind of, you know, having that whole prove it yourself type thing. Amy Weinstein once told me that you always should be the most prepared woman in the room, or person in the room, to me, woman. And so that was kind of one of those mantras that I had, you know, like I'll just, you know more than anybody. And if anybody asks the question, I'm going to have the answer. And I've been cursed with just overconfidence, I guess. And I'm just, I haven't been afraid to like say something or speak up for somebody else. And I hope that I can still, you know, be an advocate for the people who do feel like they have imposter syndrome, and tell them that they do deserve to be there.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just that big dose of courage you have to give to yourself. And I think of a construction project I took on where I was doing building and, you know, entering into this building territory that was very largely male dominated. And I'm like, I belong here too. I belong here too. I'm here doing it too. It's good. Just give yourself that courage. I want to just quickly address, Abby, do you want to speak about your comment about your previous firm experience?
I could speak about that, but I was really happy to hear what Anna had said. I mean, I'm born and raised here as a first generation Asian Filipino American, but because I grew up in, I guess, a rural town, a little bit more popularized now, like in Maryland, like I just assimilated. Like I was definitely the only Asian in my elementary school class, but I may have been the only one in the whole K through 5. And then like at the time, my middle school was predominantly white, but now it's more mixed these days, but it's still, the majority is white. So like I echo a lot of what Anna had said about just, you know, blended in. And then, you know, architecture school, there were more women, but at the time when I was in architecture school, it was still like 60% men. So I just kind of blended in naturally. Yeah, and then I guess my comment here, I just saw someone had asked, where were the firms that don't support professional service? And I mean, I don't want to get too specific, but I think that some firms or the leadership is primarily production oriented. And it was actually a rather shocking experience for me because I mean, I was a pandemic layoff in July 2020, and I had to get a job before the vaccines came out, and I just took what was available. There wasn't a whole lot at the time. And I think like a lesson learned, I mean, at that time I was really restricted what I could find, but I would say lesson learned is like, I would check and see which groups or which firms are active with the AIA or a similar organization. Whether, like I worked for an interior design firm and previously, and they were very active in IIDA, and I was used to that learning environment. And then obviously by what my name says, I'm now at Moody Nolan, which, well, they're very active in the AIA, obviously. So, so I couldn't be happier. Yeah. So it's like when you're looking at a firm and trying to chart your own path as a leader, I think it's important to do like some background research.
Yeah, and right, and recognizing that some firms are actually, or some people, some architects are opposed to AIA and we didn't even get a chance to kind of get into. There are probably valid reasons for people to be opposed to AIA, maybe not valid enough, but I think there's plenty to talk about there. That's our next session. I don't think we can get into it.
and just I know
AIA will totally support us having that session, right?
Yes, but I know we're running out of time, but I just, I've been in the area 25 years, and from what I've seen is the AIA has evolved a lot in the last 10, 15, maybe even 20 years. I think it's more like 15, to be more to help the emerging architects than when I first joined in the late 90s. It was very different. So I think you guys are doing great.
That's terrific.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that's helpful to kind of think through, right? So it is an excellent pathway for people to join, to find their networks, to find communities, and to develop ourselves as architects. And I've found that to be true for me. I'm going to just mention this. It's 101. We'll kind of keep going for just a few more minutes and slowly finish out. But if you need to leave, feel free. Anna, do you want to talk about what you're writing there?
Well, as part of Next to Lead, I actually read the AIA strategic plan, which I haven't done in the past, and I'm very shocked about how it really resonated with me. I mean, they're talking about, climate change is always important, but like the socioeconomic changes in equity and providing, shelter and housing for everyone. And just, I really felt like it is an evolving organization, and they've gotten a lot better in the last few years. I mean, this program that I'm in right now is because somebody saw a lack of diversity and said, we need more women in the room. We need more women of color in the room. And getting to meet all these different women is just been amazing. And really understanding their stories, because we're all so different and we all come from such different backgrounds. Like there's a lot of Asian women in our firm, but some of them are immigrant Asians. Some of them come from like multi-generations of other Asian family members, and they have their own issues, like with their own cultures and stuff. So I think it's really great that the AIA is evolving. We have another African-American woman who's going to be the president next year. The CEO is an African-American woman. And it's just, they're kind of breaking down the steps to leadership, like that you have to serve on this and have to serve on this, because a lot of that just doesn't work for women. Like we didn't have the time to build all of these, years of service to become the next president or whatever, people taking care of family, whether it's children or mothers and fathers and all. So I think kind of just breaking up and changing the rules and making them more accessible to people is really going to be, a positive step for the next generation of architects who believe in the AIA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for that. I put a link to get to the strategic plan in the chat if anybody wants to reference it. There's so many things we could continue. This conversation has been really terrific, and so many more topics we could have. I want to just ask the three of you, would it be all right if people reached out to you if they have additional questions and wanted to talk through maybe their experiences or your experiences further?
Absolutely. And I just want to give my one little nugget of advice that I had written down. Whenever you're finding, whenever you're getting involved with anything, if it's AIA or whatever, it's got to be something you're passionate about. For me, I met Melissa through Women in Architecture. I love the lecture series. It was a really great thing. So being passionate about women, being passionate about like the AREs. Yeah, I'm passionate about the AREs, but like getting people ready for it, that has been something that I've been really passionate about. And so those are kind of the places that I went with, my AIA journey. Start small, join a committee, just go to a meeting and see if it's for you. And then if you are considering, getting into committee leadership, make sure that there is an exit plan. Make sure there is a strategy that you are not stuck. I was the co-chair, I was the chair, then the co-chair for the Young Architects Forum for almost 10 years. So there was not an exit plan until we developed one like near my end. So just make sure that there's an exit plan, make sure that you know what the responsibilities might be before going into it, how long that you're expected to volunteer, and make sure that you have the bandwidth, because there are a lot of times that there are so many great committees out there, and I think collaboration is the key to getting things done. Like right now, DC, Potomac Valley, and NOVA are doing a 360 mentoring program that we're going to have all three participate in, and do cross collaboration with other committees within your AIA organization, just because you've got strength in numbers, and if you have people that you can trust and you can work with, you're just going to develop really strong relationships that that you can depend on them later. And that's nothing better than feeling like if Melissa called me and said, I need you to do this panel, I was like, okay, oh, by the way, what's it about? Like I'm just there for her. I was like, sure, whatever. And then we figure out later. So those are the kind of relationships that you build. So
that's right. That is such great advice. All of that is great advice, Anna. And we didn't get to touch on it, but the various levels of involvement. So, there's board involvement. You can join your local AIA board, but you don't have to go to such an extreme if that feels daunting. You could just get involved with committees within your board and get to know what the committees are on their websites, or call someone or email someone and find out about them. And that's such a great segue into just getting into that networking and sort of seeing what it's all about.
Just to add to your thought there, Deborah, and I don't know if this is the case with NOVA and Potomac Valley, but like for AIA DC, you don't even need to be an AIA member to be a part of the committee. So, it's easier to just go experience that, see if that's something you like before you commit to something much bigger and pay like an annual fee and all of that.
Yeah, that's terrific. Do you have is that your parting words of wisdom, or do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Sakshi. How about you, Melissa?
What I think what Anna said, be wary of like burnt out and have an exit strategy. It's okay to leave. It's okay to say, I'm not doing this anymore, and move on. And to reflect what Sakshi said, I never asked permission, right? I just did it. And even though I was a member of AIDC, I hopped over to AIA NOVA, and I still participate in some AIADC stuff. And then I became a Potomac Valley member, and I still stuck with AIA Northern Virginia. And, and I still do stuff with AIADC. So it really, there's no borders here. And now that we're virtual, you could do AIA Honolulu if you wanted to. Like, there's no AIA Phoenix. Like, there's no limit to what AIA chapter or program that you want to participate in.
We have an AIA Colorado person on the phone today, so.
You see? who participate in AIA Potomac Valley stuff. So, like it's a big open family. So, and then I think that's it.
Okay. Thank you three so much for being so candid with us and exposing your lives to us. We really appreciate it. I think it's been really enlightening. I can still think of a bunch of conversation topics that I'd like to have around this, and maybe we can continue. But thanks to everyone for joining us today. If you do have questions, you can reach out to anyone, Sue or me or Pam. You could reach out to the three panelists personally, or do they have a way to get in touch with you? Is that
you could do LinkedIn? LinkedIn is a great way.
That's a great way. Yeah. And, you know, get involved. Most of you are, aren't you? Get involved. It's good for you. And then it's good for all of us.
I think,
Okay.
you know, the last job I got was because I was doing an ARE, event, and like one of the other teachers was like, hey, we're hiring somebody right now. I think it would be perfect for this. And so, I mean, that's how I got my most current job. So like, you know, the network and the people who get to know you are the people that are going to get you the next job, or they're going to help you on the next panel or whatever. So I think the people that I've met, there's still some people on here. My previous co-chair for women architecture is on, and one of my new ARE teachers is on. So it's just amazing, like the kind of group and community that you build of people that you can just depend on, and you know, friends for life.
Yeah, and I mean, for me too, as being, you know, the small scale practitioner, that I don't have access to a ton of architects all day long. So I really need this community. It's been really excellent for my professional development even. So just to plug that in there, another avenue. Okay, I think we're going to wrap up. If there's any last minute questions, we're 10 minutes over, not too bad. Otherwise, thanks to everyone for joining us. And are you